So, Ariel, thank you so much for joining me today on The Deal. I do appreciate it. You're coming from the cold continent of Canada. I know it's not a continent, but it's sort of almost like you guys are up there by yourselves, because I feel like Canada never gets enough love. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Really. Okay, so let's start this thing. So take me through your journey. What inspired you not only to commit to creating content, but you're doing faith-based content. You're doing Christian content on the platforms, which isn't so prevalent. So,
Well, it kind of began basically at the ending of 2020, where I was already on YouTube. I was doing like hair tutorials and beauty tutorials, and I was just getting really, really tired of it, to be honest. Like, I always knew I wanted to be on social media and be my own creator and all that stuff, but I was like, I wanted to be able to express myself more. I felt like I had more of a personality to give that I couldn't showcase through my hair videos. So, and plus there was like a lot going on as well. I didn't know where to go in life. I was just confused. So I remember a very specific day where I got down on my knees and I went on by my bed, and I was literally like so frustrated. And I came to God frustrated, and I was like, God, like, I need a change. I don't know what to do. I'm like, the school route wasn't working for me. This route wasn't working for me. So I'm trying this. So I was like talking to him pretty like in a pretty in a pretty like angry mood. And I said, okay, here's the thing. There's a new thing that's popping called TikTok, and I want to try it. I said, if it's for me, then bless it. If it's not for me, then, you know, just let it flop, and then I'll figure something else out. And long story short, I started creating content. I had no intention really to create faith-based content. That wasn't really my goal. I never had a problem with it, but I wasn't thinking about it. But it kind of just naturally flowed into that because I wanted to make day-to-day relatable content. And honestly, God is in my day-to-day. Like, in every little thing I do, I'm talking to him or having some kind of discussion or being reminded of God and everything. So it kind of naturally just came out that way. And people really related to it, which was kind of surprising to me, but I was happy about it because I'm like, okay, cool. So now I could actually talk about God, but be myself at the same time. So that's kind of where it started.
So I'm not a huge user of social media myself, but you know, obviously it's there. You can't escape it. Everybody sees it, right?
Yeah.
Do you believe, though, because you were able to take it and make it more faith-based content, right, that it's improved social media a little bit? You feel like more people are getting improvement for it? Because at the end of the day, it's funny stuff. It's comedy. You're putting on stunts. You're doing your thing. But at the same time, you feel like people are leaving with something from it.
Yeah, at first I didn't really notice that it was really having that much of an impact on people. I was just doing it thinking that, you know, whatever, this is just chill, it's for fun. And it's really when my parents, like, one day they were like, no, Ariel, like, this is actually good for social media, doing some good for people. And then it's honestly when I started receiving all these messages from people saying like, oh my goodness, you have no idea what your content does for me, or your content literally made me start talking to God again. I forgot about this. And I'm like, oh, wow. So I'm happy that I can do this on social media because, you know, people said sometimes they're tired of seeing the same old all the time. That doesn't necessarily bring like a good change. So yeah, I can definitely see that it actually does affect people in a good way. And I'm happy that I can do that.
That's amazing. So you have over 2 million followers. I almost said 200. 2 million followers, with 2 million people turning to your account every single day. Now, this is obviously, you know, amazing, and I'm sure it didn't happen overnight, although it may feel like it happened overnight, whatever question, or maybe it did. Do you feel because of that you have a lot of pressure? People are watching me, you know?
Yes, but to be honest, because I'm a PK, so I'm kind of like used to that feeling of people always like looking at me and expecting things of me.
Got
and
it.
it probably used to bother me.
PK meaning a preacher's kid, right?
Yeah, sorry, preacher's kid.
You gotta explain that to my audience. Nobody knew. Everybody was like a PK. Everybody's probably like at the moment they seen this like on Google, like, what's a PK? Okay. Preacher's kid.
Yeah, my bad. Preacher's kid. Yeah. So when you grow up as a preacher's kid, like, you kind of feel that pressure already, and it used to bug me more before. But as I got older, I started, being able to just handle it better, where I know, like, you can't please everybody. And I think the most important thing for me is that I please God and that I'm the best example that I can be. And but I think the pressure that's still kind of like I feel more is when people ask me questions and they're like, okay, well, this is what I'm going through my life right now, and I feel like you can help me. And I'm just like, sometimes I really don't know what to say. Sometimes I don't know, because sometimes people look at you and they think you have all the answers because they think you know your Bible so well and all that stuff. And I'm like, I'm still growing too. So sometimes I feel like I do feel that pressure where people think I have the answers for them for everything, and I don't. But I try to be as honest and down to earth. So whenever I try to give my advice, I come from a place of like, this is what I've been through. This is what God has taught me so far. So I could tell you X, Y, Z. But yeah, that's the kind of pressure that I feel most.
I totally understand. I as much as I'm not always on the social media, YouTube is also a form of social media also too. But I'm saying that the content, once it's out there, you essentially you're putting yourself out there, right? And no matter how you look at it, you're putting yourself out there, especially even if you're a person of faith. You're putting yourself out there for more criticisms, right? So do people leave, I'm sure they probably have, because it's just the world we live in today anyway. Have anybody left negative comments on your stuff, and how do you approach it, and do you respond to them? How do you approach when you get negative feedback?
Yeah, for sure people leave negative comments. It's not a lot, thank God. Like the positive always outweighs the negative.
Always, right.
Like by so far, so it doesn't bother me. I think too, because I was on YouTube before, it kind of prepared me for all of that. So negative comments sincerely do not bother me. I extremely rarely answer those kind of comments unless I see it's something that needs to be rectified. But I don't know, I guess because when you have so much positivity coming in, it's so hard. It's really so hard to focus on the negative. And a lot of times the negative is people not even understanding you correctly, or sometimes it's people just trying to sometimes I have to remember they're not coming after me. Sometimes they're just coming after God, like whatever, maybe they don't believe in God. So they're just upset with what I'm saying, or, those kind of things. So I don't allow that to bother me because.
See, me, myself, I agree with you. I feel like if it's somebody who's like anti-God, like that's a complete waste of time. You know what I mean? Because it's like we already not even in the same whatever. Yeah, that's you're trolling for no reason at all. In that case, but when it's maybe people who are members of the same faith or the same community that question your devotion to God or your devotion to faith because you don't fit their textbook of what it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? That's when it gets a little bit tougher. So I'd imagine that it'd be a little bit harder to refrain from some of those ones sometimes, maybe.
Yeah, those are the ones that are like, out of all the negative comments, it would mostly be coming from the Christian community. And just like you said, it's because you don't fit what they think should be a Christian. So it's kind of like, the way I do my hair, or the fact that I wear makeup, or just the fact that I laugh in my videos, or I'm making comedy. There's so much, like, there's so many opinions about that. So I'm like, I can't please you all.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's why it doesn't bother me.
Completely understand it. So a lot of the stuff that you do is biblical stories, and what's your favorite story? I wanted to ask you, what was your favorite story that you would say from the Bible, or spiritual? If you have a favorite.
I have a favorite. I never acted it out though. It's one of my favorites. It's hard to choose a favorite. But one of my favorites is the story where Daniel was praying and fasting. And
for the seven days
and then he didn't know at the time, but then when the angel finally came with the message, the angel's like, oh, by the way, Daniel, God answered you from your first day. It's just that
Mm-hmm.
we were fighting, feels like fighting the
I was
Prince of
fighting with the
Persia.
Prince of Persia, right?
Yeah, I thought that was so, I still think that's like so cool. Like, and he's like, hey, he gives this message. He's like, hey, I got to go back and help the others now. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Right.
It's like a nice
I
look into the spiritual realm.
No, it definitely is. That's actually one of my favorite stories. It's very interesting you mentioned that. I talk with this about my
Cool.
kids and try not to scare them a lot or whatever,
Yeah.
because not only that, Daniel was very, very afraid when he sees it. There's so many different details aside of that story.
Mm-hmm.
He's stricken with fear, so much so he can't even stand up. Angel has to give him power to be able to stand up. The other two people with him, they're scared and they don't even know why they're scared. They didn't
Yeah.
see it. It says he saw it, they didn't see it, but they got
So
scared.
true.
It's a very interesting thing. So on one of our very, holy commentaries in the Gemara talks about that sometimes we don't see things, but our what we say, our mazal, I don't even know how to translate that. See, but sometimes we have a certain intuition, a higher aspect. I'm doing butcher by trying to translate this Hebrew word into English, by the way, you should know. But sometimes there's things that we can't see, but we have some type of intuition from, some type of understanding of something that's there, even though that we ourselves can't see it. And
Yeah.
sometimes we feel fear, sometimes we feel
Yeah.
different things. So that story is super duper powerful, and I
Yeah.
don't know why you haven't acted it out yet, but okay, it's all good. You gotta get it figured out. Gotta
Yeah, I
get it
gotta figure
figured
that
out.
one out.
Okay, so you spoke a little bit earlier about prayer. I've had numerous of conversations with other people about it. That's my thing more than anything else. That's my thing. It's a little bit easier, I would say, probably in the Christian world, because there's not so much of an emphasis on study as much as there is in the Jewish world. I do obviously know the Christian world I come from. My father's also, I'm a PK also, you should know, to
Oh,
be
cool.
honest. So, even though it says study to show thyself approved and different things, it's not a very big cultural thing in the Christian world, especially in the African American
Mm-hmm.
Christian world. So we tend to somehow fall a lot on prayer. And what I've come to find out more about myself is that even though I prayed and I spent a lot of time on prayer, I sometimes didn't even realize the benefit of what prayer actually does, what it does for me, what it does for, my success, my future, my everything, and what it does for even those around me. Everybody that's in my bubble gets some type of benefit from that prayer, that bubble that's created by my prayer. In terms of yourself, do you see that as probably being the key instrument in your way of connecting to God?
Yo, it's crazy you say that because, like you said, like, okay, I was born into the Christian world, so
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times I think the problem with that is that you get so used to I don't know if this is the right word, but the tradition of it all, that you don't actually start recognizing how important these things that we talk about all the time are.
Mm-hmm.
And I always knew prayer was important because obviously,
Mm-hmm.
Christian, you go to church, you open the church in prayer, you close in prayer, all these things. But I had to really learn when life started to hit me hard, like really, really hard. That's when I had to learn, okay, this is not just wake up in the morning, thank you God for this day, help me get through this day, and then continue about my
Right.
day. And that's it. I had to literally create that relationship where I was to a point where I was like, okay, so I can't live without prayer right now. It's like I have
Mm-hmm.
no choice but
Right.
to connect with God, not just once, twice a day, but throughout the day,
Mm-hmm.
build that conversation with him. Like he said, bring everything to him in prayer. Like every little thing I had to bring to
Mm-hmm.
God in prayer. Every little thing that I was going through, I had to realize, okay, this is how I live now. Like now I can't go through the day without praying. I used to,
Right.
but now,
Right.
like,
Right.
I had to, even with the TikTok, when people always ask me, they're like, oh, well, how did you do it? How did you get successful in prayer? And I'm like, I'm in TikTok, and I'm like, as crazy as it sounds, I prayed about it. And I didn't just pray, but I
Mm-hmm.
believed. And
Right.
I took the scriptures that I saw, and I was like, hey, I was literally like putting it in God's face. You said this, and if I pray about this
Mm.
and I believe that I've already received it, it's mine. And I had to
Right.
like
Right.
start practicing it every single day. And I've seen
Mm-hmm.
like, it's crazy. Just this past year alone, I've seen the benefits. I just really started praying
Wow.
and I'm
Wow. Wow.
seeing like doors open, like crazy. And I'm like, oh wow, this thing is
Wow.
real and it's necessary. Like, we can't be playing about this, like just
Yeah.
doing it for tradition's sake. Like, this is our life, you know?
It's real, and I feel like, so many people who have had their ups and downs, no matter even the faith, no matter the background, if it's Jewish or Labdil Christian or whatever the case is, whatever it is, that people that generally find themselves in a very weak relationship with God is because you find usually there's been a lack of prayer, right? It's usually that there's a key component missing, which is the entrance to any relationship is communication, right? Once there's
That's true.
communication,
Yeah.
then we have a relationship. Once you stop communicating, then the relationship is not that strong, no matter how close you may be to somebody. And there's certain
Yep.
friends and people that you'll know, and they'll always be there for you and different things like that. But without the communication, there's something missing within that bond that's there. So that's very powerful. I'm happy you shared that with my listeners. So back to TikTok a little bit there. So not only are you a TikTok star, but you also sing. You sing with your
Yeah.
sister, so you guys have something. So you're not only a PK, you're also in the choir. So I want to know, maybe not. I don't know if you're in the choir or not, but I'm just saying, how do you which one of those things play more of a part for you? I'm saying, at least, I'm sure obviously the TikTok thing is your passion now that you found like, wow, this is my passion, making people laugh on TikTok or whatever, or is it more so the music and singing?
Well, I don't think I could have one without the other. Like,
No, okay.
I sincerely, I love to create. So it's not just with music, it's with anything, with writing, with like acting, with everything. I really, because I've been asked this question a lot, and I'm like, I really can't see myself just living one. Even before TikTok started, and I was like, yes, I want to do music, but I need to do more. I love all of it. I love having my finger in, almost everything. It's just, it's an important part for me. I can't just stick to one thing. So music is extremely important to me, but also is writing, creating scripts and stuff like that. It's like, it all makes me.
Got it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about musical influences. What do you listen to? Because everybody wants to know, you have 2 million people watching you. What are you listening to? Who do you listen to? Obviously, in the Christian world, there's so much. I mean, you have a plethora of music, of great Christian music. Honestly, in the modern world, also, you're more old gospel. You like more contemporary people. There's the Derek Miners, Lecrae's, Gavi's. All these guys are that really not your speed anyway. Or you rather listen to secular music?
I grew up listening to gospel, so like that was the only music allowed in my house. So it's still like it still is that way. So it's like gospel's all I really listen to. I grew up listening. Number one was Kirk Franklin, I would say, and Mary Mary. And as I got into my teens, it turned to Lecrae and Flame and Trip. What's his name? Oh my gosh, that's slipping me right now. Is it the right name, Trip Lee? Why do I feel like that's not it? Anyway, like that, the 116 Gang, and I love old school music, so I love like Leandra Johnson's music and choir music. So all that, it's a mix of all the worlds.
All of those. So
yeah.
One of my last but not least question, I want to know about the future. What's the future for you? Do you feel like you want to explore more in your amongst your creative talents, more so in the music world, more so on exploring other platforms of social media, or what? That's what I want to know.
I would really love to get into acting. Like that's what I've always low-key wanted to do, but now I more and more want to do it. Acting world, I want to get more into music for sure. I want to get into like being able to actually sing in front of people and perform in different cities, different countries. And like I feel like social media will always be there, but it's not like my whole like my biggest dream is to it's not my life to be on social media, because I like social media, but at the same time I have my little moments I'm like, I really don't like social media. But
Right, right.
so I'm happy because it's a great tool to
Hmm.
get me towards my bigger goals, which is to actually, be acting in movies one day, or to be touring around the world or stuff like that. But who knows? Only God knows.
Amazing, amazing. Listen, having done the touring part, I just let you know it's very exhausting. So just
Yeah.
make sure you rest well, you eat well. I'm heading out this week. I'm going off to have 18 different places I'm going to, and I'm
Oh,
telling you,
wow.
every bit of it can be very exhausting. So prepare yourself very much
Okay.
so, mentally and spiritually for that. I have no doubt about it that you'll actually actualize it. So
Thank
wishing
you.
you only the best. Thank you so much for coming on my show. And we're
Thank
looking forward
you.
to hearing about even greater and bigger things by you.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here.